What's happening, everybody? What's happening, everybody? What's happening, everybody? Like, share, comment, subscribe, become a channel member where you'll get access to all archive videos, support black male media, support independent media, super chats enabled, super thanks for the replay gang, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Dr. Thunder Music, all one word. Spell out the word doctor. And if you'd like to feed me sandwiches, all methods apply. All methods apply. This is Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. Of course, I am Dr. Thunder. And this is the longest running productivity level up skills and resources programming, longest episodic programming in this space. And we've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but we back in the saddle. And Ike is back in Ghana. He's back in Accra, Ghana. Back in Accra, Ghana, the globetrotter that he is. But we don't let a little thing like thousands of miles prevent us from doing the show. So here we are with another riveting episode of Getting Ish Done. Productivity-oriented programming for all y'all dusty ninjas. Yeah. So hopefully our internet connection is not too dusty. But anyhow, African, dusty, internet and stuff. Let me shout out a few people in the chat. Ice Princess. Actually, two people thus far. Please, as you come in, please drop a comment in the chat, and I will shout you out. Ice Princess at AB Media. What's happening? Today's show, we're going to be talking about being tired, lethargic, not having any energy. An industry that has totally blown up, and I have done my fair share of contributing to this industry, is the energy drink industry, or energy shots, and even stuff like, and I put this in a different category, but even stuff like pre-workout. But caffeine has been an age-old. It's been one of these things that we have partaken of, and yes, that has particular benefits. It has some downsides, right? Yeah. So the energy drink industry has really blown up over the last several years. And these drinks now have tremendous amount of caffeine in them because most folks that drink them regularly have built up quite an immunity. And the reason for this is people are out of energy. And although we talk a lot about time and the importance of time, time waits for no man, right? And that's the one thing that you don't get more of. Well, you could have time, but you don't have any energy and you don't get anything done, right? You need energy to be able to get ish done. So today's show, we're asking the question, why am I always tired? Why am I always tired? Why am I always tired? And one time I was doing some research at one point, and somebody was claiming that supposedly water is the ultimate energy drink. And water definitely is critically important. I've been doing a lot better drinking more water. I'm always drinking water when I'm doing my show, but sometimes I forget throughout the day to drink. So I've got this gallon. This is new to me. This big gallon container, and I've been trying to get one of these down each day. And I'll tell you, these morning shows that I do, I've got Rolling Thunder, 8:30 a.m. Monday through Friday, with an open panel on Fridays, right? But I'm drinking more than a half a gallon of water just sitting there for those usually about 2.5 to 3 hour shows. Now, water's important, but that's not the only thing. So we're going to discuss many things associated with this. We've got a video by, let's see here. Who is this video by? Dr. Mike Hansen. Video by Dr. Mike Hansen. And the name of it is, Why Am I Always Tired? Avoid These 6 Energy Vampires. 6 energy vampires. So we're going to discover what these energy drainers are today in Getting Ish Done. Let's go. Warning. Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. All right, I'm back. Like the video. Please like the video. I wanted to shout out a couple more people. Tim Howard and Hitflix have come in the chat. Please like the video. Consider supporting the show. Consider becoming a channel member. And this is Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. So without further ado, getting ish done. What's happening, Ike?
What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm live from a motherland in it for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that's what's going on.
All right. What are you doing? What are you doing there exactly?
Uh, there are a couple of things. Well, first of all, there is uh, so there's a trying to build a agricultural empire. Okay, so let's start at a high level that way. Um, so there are farms. There is a canning of palm oil, which is the product. The company is called Grow and Go, by the way. There have been processes that we've been going through with various agencies that need to authorize things, something called the Standard Board and blah blah blah. And there's something called the FDA, and the FDA is the FDA, as you would think, right? Food and Drug Administration. They kind of copy, which is something, by the way, that is done outside the United States. Regulations are kind of reflect the United States type of regulation. So it's like an export, United States exports its regulations, because people basically copy it. Because why reinvent the wheel? That kind of a thing. So there's the FDA. We recently got that thing going, right? So now it can be official, regarding the products and whatnot. And at some point, I'll probably drop a link for the site. So palm oil, palm products, generally speaking, you can there are many products that can come from that particular cash crop, and that's one of the things that I'm setting up here. It's crazy. It's capital intensive. It's a long range Hail Mary type shit. It can all go down in flames, right? It could all not work out at all, but that's the nature of trying to do stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that's part of what I'm doing. Plus, also, I'm kind of trying to close on a actual residence here, right? In addition to the palm oil thing, I'm building some stuff. But outside the building, I'm talking about somewhere where I can kind of maybe stay or slash maybe rent out when I'm not staying here, slash take advantage of the fact that real estate is kind of crazy and hot out here, going up and whatnot. So I'm trying to close that particular deal and move out of where I currently am and all that kind of crazy stuff. But overall, things are good. Things are getting busier and crazier. But I've gone on too long about this now.
No, no, no. But with all of that activity, all the stuff that you're doing, energy is critical, right?
Yes, energy is critical. And speaking of that, I do have my black tea, a Kenyan black tea, over here in my cup that I'm sipping on. And yes, and we're gonna get into it. I don't know, I haven't seen this video, as typically is the case. So
Right.
I'm curious to see what the do's and don'ts are in here, right? I'm gonna be violating probably one of the things that you're not supposed to do, right? Tonight. First of all, like it's what's the time over here right now? Where I'm at? It's already pretty late, which is not a good thing, right? I should be sleeping. I should catch my sleep. And after we do this, it's almost 2 a.m. So after we do this, I'm still gonna stay up and because I got some work to do and whatnot. But yeah, energy is key. So it'll be an interesting conversation indeed.
Now, of course, he's going to be talking about um, uh, uh, energy vampires to avoid. So it seems like he's going to focus on the stay away from these things, not as much do these things to promote energy, but stay away from these things so that you don't deplete the energy that you have. So, and he's a doctor, so let's see what he has to say. All right. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and get this started.
Do you feel tired and have like no energy all the time? Well, if you avoid these 6 things that I'm about to tell you, you can boom increase your energy levels and feel great. who's been through residency and fellowship and working crazy hours, on average 80 hours a week. And then I was also on call every fourth night where you're up for 24 hours straight. Your sleep cycle gets all messed up. I speak from experience when I say I feel tired all the time, or at least I used to, and just have periods where I have very low energy. So there are actually 6 things that you can avoid to feel like that. And these are based on the latest medical science, evidence-based medicine. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so his setup was, he's saying, look, I've got a lot of stuff to do. I myself have had an issue with energy. I was working 80 hours a week plus being on call, sort of doing the things. Thank you for that gifting 5 memberships. Thank you very much to Tim Howard for that. Let me make sure my sound is on. Oh, there it is. And Mr. O just became a member. Thank you very much for that. But he, and so did PM the Don. PM the Don. Let's see here. I guess it's gonna read all of these for us. Eric Deadman. Let's see. Let's see who else. It's gonna read all of these. There we go. Saint Cyr. And I think the one that's left is Mark Troost. It's going to read Mark Troost. There it is. This is part of it's a new sort of wrinkle. I have this Streamlabs does this automated. It reads super chats above $4. That's how I have it set. And then it also does memberships, and if somebody subscribes to the channel, it reads that. So it's pretty cool. It's a little bit delayed from when it happens in the chat though. So I have to kind of get used to that. I try to ignore what's happening in the chat, and then it reads it, and then I'll highlight whatever the stuff is. But anyhow, this doctor has dealt with being exhausted, having to work, 24-hour shifts, not sleeping, all like this. I also have been in that same sort of boat. Ike has said that, currently he's in that boat, right? So if you're going to be productive, then what that's probably going to mean is at least at times, you're going to go through periods of not getting very much sleep. And you're going to have to figure out how to make adjustments, or having periodically having to stay up for 24 hours, or if you do a lot of flying, especially out of the country, or in different time zones, you get jet lagged, and then dealing with what do you do in that sort of scenario. I had a great, one of my mentors when I was in college, a great drummer named Billy Hart. Shout out to Billy Hart. It's one of the most recorded drummers of all times. It's between him and Billy Higgins, actually, for the most recorded drummers of all times in any genre. Great jazz drummer. He's played with everybody. And he told me that what he does is wherever he flies to, even if it's other side of the world and everything's flipped upside down, he always keeps the same sleeping schedule. Now, you can't totally do that because it's possible that your sleeping schedule, so in other words, you're going to still sleep at the same time that you would be sleeping at home. Now, one of the problems with that is if he has a gig, or if he has a rehearsal, or he has a sound check or something, and that sound check is during the time that he would be sleeping, obviously you have to accommodate for that. But other than that, he just keeps the same schedule, and that helps him to be able to eliminate most of the effects of jet lag. Now, other folks will tell you something different. They'll tell you you need to get on the whatever the schedule is for the place that you're going to. Now, I would suggest that if you're going to be there for a period of time, then you do have to adjust to it. Because if you're going to be meeting with people and doing stuff with other folks, having dinners and stuff like that, wining and dining folks and all that kind of stuff, then you're going to have to do that on their schedule. But if you're going to be there for a couple days, it's better to just stay on your sleeping schedule. So what do you think of what do you think of that, Ike?
Just like you mentioned, I have heard those two sides as well, right?
Right.
And I'm gonna. So you said a lot, including the comments that you made about the doctor in this video and this particular approach. But when it comes to this sleeping thing, I've heard both sides as well. Um, Typically, what I try to do is not fight the body, right? Like,
Mm,
so if I'm feeling like, oh, I need to just stay awake, like, which is what's kind of going on right now. Because right now I am 7 hours ahead. Sometimes when I'm here, it's 8 hours ahead, depending on daylight savings time and whatnot, right? I'm 7 hours ahead, and it's late night, and I feel a little tired, but I'm not like falling asleep, because it's still like 7 p.m. in the West Coast of the United States. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna stay up, right? Whatever. If I'm sleeping till 11 a.m. tomorrow, then it is what it is. Now I have the luxury of the fact that I'm not doing things here. I'm actually working on California time, right? Or United States time, right? So if I have a
right.
meeting on Zoom or something at 8 a.m., well, that 8 a.m. is gonna be like wherever the hell it is over, like it's afternoon over here, right? The 8 a.m. meeting, right? So I can sleep in the morning and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of generally how I deal with the jet lag, is basically to just say, okay, if my body is feeling like it needs to sleep or not sleep, then I'll just do that. I guess it's similar to what your drummer friend said, right? In the sense that he's just keeping the same schedule, right?
Right.
Um, Funny thing though is, and I'm sure you understand this, Dr. Thunder, is that my sleep schedule is not normal, even even in California, right? So it's kind of crazy because sometimes I started happening recently. I just started shifting into this more nocturnal mode, where I'm going for walks at like 2 a.m. I come back, I feel a little bit more energized, and I keep working and stuff like that. And then I just sleep kind of in the mornings. I started doing that like for the past few weeks. So if you're a weirdo like that, then it is what it is. But I think that the idea of following your body, generally speaking, is good, because the buck has to stop somewhere, and your body needs what it needs. And if you keep fighting it, that'll be a problem. And there's that thing is, I don't know, is this, I forget what it is. There's this particular hormone that people are taking now, right, for jet lag and for sleep stuff. It comes in a pill form. It's the thing that regulates your sleep, and apparently, if you take that thing, it's great. I
Uh,
generally tend to stay away from. Do you know what it is?
is it
By the
Are
way.
you talking about like melatonin or something?
Yeah. That thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. It comes in a. So do you use that, or do you have any kind
Man,
of familiarity or with it?
well, as you know, I've had some wicked bouts with insomnia, and so I tried everything, bruh. How about I tried everything? Short of just like you know, just getting so drunk that I just can't stay awake. Um, I've tried, I've tried, basically everything that they tell you. You know, what is it? The kind of tea that they have you drinking. The what is it? What is it? Chamomile tea. I've tried the melatonin.
Chamomile tea.
Yeah. Melatonin. I've tried, um, a bunch of different things, and I found that if whatever was causing me to get in this zone where I couldn't sleep, um, if whatever the cause whatever the cause is stronger than whatever whatever melatonin would do for me. So, yeah, it's recently over the last, we'll say, about last month, 3 to 4 weeks, I've been sleeping really well. And knock on wood, because I went through another spurt of really, really spotty sleeping, and but I do think that what you're saying is right. You have to listen to your body. Sometimes people take naps. When I've had a lot of issues sleeping, if I take naps, that makes the sleeping overnight worse. So I have to be careful with that. Sometimes, when I've had issues sleeping, I would become also very sensitive to caffeine. So I'd have to cut out the caffeine totally. But if I'm not sleeping, then I'd also need something to have some kind of energy to keep my eyes open, during the day, not to be dozing off and stuff. Because obviously you get to a certain point, and if you're not getting any sleep, then, you're going to be in trouble. But anyhow, let's go ahead and have this guy tell us at least what the first thing is, and we'll pause for some commentary. Here we go.
For one thing, as we get older, we lose mitochondria, which are the energy-producing engines in our cells. And because of that, we produce less adenosine triphosphate, or ATP for short. ATP is the molecule that provides energy to cells throughout the body. Other causes of fatigue, like medication side effects or chronic illness like depression or heart disease or COPD, can make you feel tired or sluggish. But age and disease-related factors aren't the only things that suck your energy. Lifestyle habits play a big part in fatigue. The first one being lack of sleep. And when I say lack of sleep, I mean lack of adequate amounts of high-quality sleep. So it's not just how long you sleep.
Okay, wait a minute. So the first thing he said was, what was this? No, is that one of the thing? Okay, of course he says lack of sleep the first thing, but the first thing he said, let me roll that back again, because I'm
For one thing, as we get older, we lose mitochondria, which are the energy-producing engines in our cells. And because of that, we produce less adenosine triphosphate, or ATP for short. ATP is the molecule that provides energy to cells throughout the body. Other causes of fatigue, like medication side effects or chronic illness like depression or heart disease or COPD, can make you feel tired or sluggish. But age and disease-related factors aren't the only things that suck your energy. Lifestyle habits play a big part in fatigue. The first one being lack of sleep. And when I say lack of sleep, I mean lack of adequate amounts of high-quality sleep. So it's not just how long you sleep, it's how good the sleep itself is. Lack of good sleep increases cortisol levels and promotes inflammation. In order to get good sleep, you need to have good sleep hygiene. This means going to bed and waking up at the same time each day, and keep your room on the cooler side and keep it quiet and free of electronics, which stimulate your brain. The blue light from the cell phone, from the laptop, from the iPad, whatever, it stimulates your eyes, stimulates your brain, no bueno. So no using your phone in bed. Also, don't exercise before bed, at least within 2 hours, because this stimulates you and it's put you in a adrenergic state, and you need to be in a parasympathetic state, a calm, relaxed state before going to bed.
Okay. So the first thing is sleep, and we kind of preempted that, not knowing that he was going to talk about sleep. But he used this term, and I didn't know anything about this prior to my first serious bout with insomnia, which happened. It was like it began in like May of 2019, and I had a wicked bout with that for like a month and a half of like no sleep, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Finally went to a therapist. Finally got some help. I actually needed medication to get me started sleeping again, and they had to talk me through this term, sleep hygiene. I never had heard of that. What's sleep hygiene? What are you talking about? Um, and that's exactly as he suggested. It's getting yourself into a routine, into a particular pattern, um, and doing it the same time. Uh, that was never my thing. My thing was I would basically work until I just passed out, and I guess that's when I'm going to sleep then. And then I'd wake up the next day and I'd do it again. And so sleeping was not something that was an issue because I just exhausted myself to sleep. But I got to a point where I could actually exhaust myself to the point where I should be sleeping, but then I also couldn't sleep. So then I had to figure out some of these other things. Now, some of what he's saying goes against a couple of the things that you were talking about as far as what your personal sleeping schedule is. But I'm sure that you have something that is consistent in whatever your routine is that allows you to sleep, even if you are changing the times and having to deal with like traveling, and then now everybody else is sleeping while you're awake right now and stuff like that. So tell me what you think.
So I also don't do like the television in the room and stuff like that, right?
Mm-mm.
Um, if there is a TV in the room, I'm not turning it on. I'm typically not watching it or anything like that. And I don't have like a desk in the room whereby, and what I'm getting at here is there's a notion that if the room is meant for one particular thing, then you are more likely to get in that state when you get into that room. If your room is for sleeping and sleeping alone, right? And you don't have an office desk by the side there and a TV and a this and a that, then and I don't know how quote unquote scientific this is, right? But then when you get in there, you're more likely to get in that state of okay, it's time to sleep, as opposed to when you walk into the office and you're not supposed to be thinking okay, it's time to sleep, right? That kind of a thing. I also agree 100%. I'm not going to go exercise and then sleep, right? That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't typically work. Now, with regards to getting into that, the particular set of brain waves that you need to be in order to sleep, I do breathing exercises and meditate before I sleep.
Yep.
I'm always meditating anyways, generally speaking, but definitely when I lay down, I close my eyes, do my breathing exercises, feel the different parts of the body, and also notice the different things going on in the mind. Make sure things are settling down. Don't want to be in a certain kind of a heightened state of unconsciousness and going to sleep. And the unconsciousness there is literally what I mean, what I literally just described. Getting rid of the unconsciousness is basically paying attention to your body, breathing, listening to your. I famously talk about the feeling, image, talk complex, right? You have feelings in your body, you have image in your head, talk in your head. You want to be aware of what's generally going on with those. Otherwise, it's gonna be weird for you. Let's just leave it at that, right? And then I find it very important what he mentioned about when he said getting sleep, meaning getting the right amount of high quality sleep, right? And high quality meaning you have to go through certain cycles. So if you have sleep apnea, for example, if you snore, if you're not breathing properly, then you're not going to be able to go through the full cycle because your brain is always waking you up every time you're choking for air, right? So you have to go through all the phases, the REM and then the deep sleep and all that kind of stuff. And there's a very good book on this that kind of goes through like, well, in the regular kind of 6 to 8 hour period that you're sleeping, how many of these cycles and how long does it take? If that doesn't happen, you can literally be sleeping for 8 hours, but if you're not going through the cycles, it's not going to work out for you. So another thing to watch out for is, are you someone that snores? Are you breathing properly when you at night? Because if you're not, you're going to be noticing that you're tired and stressed again because it does increase the stress hormone cortisol, right? Which
Yep.
will, and also when you lack of sleep, in addition to increase in inflammation, it also makes you feel hungry and reduces your inhibition, right? So it's like literally like being drunk, and you feel like eating, and then you're getting inflamed, and this is a vicious cycle of increased stress and more cortisol and whatnot. So far so good.
Yeah, the meditation thing, my sleeping hygiene, my routine. Um, Now I do go to bed at the same time. Um, I do have a short meditation. It's a prayer that I say. It's the same thing every time. I have a stretching routine that I do, and then when I get in the bed, I do the same thing. I lay on my back for a while, and then after I've laid on my back for, I don't know, 20 minutes, then I turn over and getting whatever my sleeping position is going to be, right? And that's been very helpful. Now, I would actually prefer
Have you
a
did you
scenario.
did anyone tell you?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, and there's a delay, ladies and gentlemen. So if I'm talking over Dr. Thunder or whatnot, that's the reason why. But the laying down on your back thing, I don't know where I first heard it or whatnot, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the documentation or the studies are on that or where you heard it, because I know that you've actually had the insomnia thing and you've gone and gotten help for that. And now you're talking about laying down on your back. But the laying down on your back thing is because that's the position I also take when I'm meditating as well, right? Um, but there's something about laying down on your back, right? That really does kind of really settle you into a particular
Mm.
state, right? Um, I can kind of hypothesize about it, but I guess my question is, why did you start doing that? Did someone tell you to do that? What are your thoughts about that in general?
That wasn't. Um, I don't know if uh, in the sort of therapy sessions I was taking to sort of sort out the sleeping issue, if that was something that he talked to me about. I don't remember that. I think that just was natural. It just seemed natural to me to lay on my back first,
Hmm.
and then to change position after I had. Um, and I think it is true that something about laying on your back, there is a settling in kind of thing that happens. But the most important thing, it seemed to be, was that all of the procedures were consistent. Like it had to be consistent. And
Hmm.
frankly, that followed a procedure that I have suggested to my students about performing and practicing and trying to normalize to sort of normalize procedures associated with playing your instrument. So you do the same thing before you practice, you do the same thing before you rehearse, you do the same thing before you perform, so that that can help to get you in a sort of reduced, kind of try to relax you, um, reduce whatever anxiety associated with, maybe you have some fear associated with playing this particular selection that you have to play. It's got a lot of technical stuff in it, but you're going to do the same thing before you practice, rehearse, and perform in front of audience, so that can kind of get you in a sort of relaxed, you know, um, sort of state. And you know, you're trying to trick your brain into thinking that you're doing the same thing. So okay, let's go ahead and go to the second thing. But the sleep thing is critical. If you don't get sleep, then you're not going to have energy. Now that's a pretty straight line. It's pretty basic. Let's see how involved he gets with these other. So that was number one.
If you do drink caffeine, don't drink too much and make sure it's early in the day. And absolutely do not drink caffeine within 8 hours of bedtime. And the same applies to alcohol. Even though alcohol may help you fall asleep, it actually interrupts the sleep cycle and diminishes the quality of sleep. Also, alcohol relaxes the muscles in your throat while you're sleeping. That's why you're more prone to snoring when you're drinking alcohol. And you're more prone to sleep apnea when alcohol is in your system. If sleep issues are caused by sleep apnea, which are pauses in breathing during sleep, the dips in blood oxygen levels lowers the ATP and energy levels, so talk to your doctor about the possibility of having sleep apnea. Other things that may rob you of sleep include medication side effects and frequent trips to the bathroom. So it's another reason to avoid alcohol and caffeine too close to bedtime. And if you think you might be snoring too much or have apneic episodes, definitely check with your doctor. Okay, so we talked about the first thing to avoid, which is not getting good sleep. So in other words, get good sleep. The second thing to avoid on the list, which is sucking your energy.
Okay, so the caffeine thing is interesting now. Within 8 hours. Now I've heard that's the first time that I've heard 8 hours. Okay, but I knew that it had to be an amount of time. But the thing I definitely was not thinking about was alcohol consumption associated with interrupting the quality of sleep. Maybe it makes you drowsy, but it's going to interrupt the quality of your sleep. And now one thing that I'm going to relate this to is with like sleeping medication. So here's the problem with sleep medication, especially if you're prone to snoring or if you have sleep apnea. It's going to exacerbate those issues. So because it relaxes certain muscles as he described with alcohol. It basically has the same impact. Now, you'll be not aware of this because you're drugged, but the quality of your sleep may not be what it ought to be. You could have been asleep for 10 hours, but you were snoring a lot. There was a lot of sleep apnea going on. You're sort of gasping for air, but you don't know you're doing that. So that's sort of that's a challenging issue. What do you think?
I think that this one is rather straightforward, right? The caffeine one makes sense. I did wonder about the snoring while drunk thing, right? Obviously, anybody who pays attention might have noticed that, right? I don't have to be an alcoholic to notice that when you are a little tipsy, you falling asleep, and you notice that you snore more. Um, and it doesn't it's not his explanation makes perfect sense, right? In terms of that relaxation, right? Relaxing those muscles there, and then therefore, and then how that will ruin your sleep also makes perfect sense because we already alluded to the fact that if you're not going through the cycles because you have interrupted breathing and you're waking up, then that's not good quality sleep. And it doesn't matter if you're in bed for 8 hours and snoring and having your breathing interrupted. But I think this makes perfect sense. I'm drinking tea right now. And actually, by the way, caffeine is an interesting one. He mentioned don't drink too much, right? Because sometimes I find that I like to drink coffee or some caffeine maybe like an hour or two before I'm winding down into sleep. It's not, and I'm not going to dwell on this particularly, right? But it's not like every time. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep. Let me go get some caffeine. It's like, but there's a particular state of mind. There's a foggy state of mind that I get into whereby I find a little bit of caffeine will actually just help kind of relax me. And maybe in a couple of hours, I'll be able to go to sleep, right? So, but I guess the key there is not to take too much of the caffeine. But just an interesting side point. We'll see.
Well, perhaps what you're talking about here is somewhat related. The same principle, different in different magnitude. It's like someone with ADHD that takes Adderall. Adderall actually causes them to be able to
Uh huh.
focus
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, um, And in
Mm-hmm.
that way is sort of, as you described, sort of relaxing them. It's not a relaxing is maybe is not the most precise term for what it is that we're describing, but yeah, I get what you're saying. And by the way, um, uh, I mean, I used to be able to drink, and this is, I mean, this is, this, I don't even try this. I wouldn't even try this now. But when I was, you know, in my 20s or something, or we'll say in my 30s, I could drink like you know, I don't know, 40 ounces of Mountain Dew and then go right to sleep. It's like this stuff didn't affect me. But once I became particularly sensitive, once I started having issues with sleeping, I could no longer do that, and I really had to be careful about when I took caffeine in. So if I'm going to take caffeine in, which I usually do in the mornings, it's in the morning, and then I try to no caffeine for the rest of the day. You know, sometimes I'll have maybe like a diet soda or something, and the diet soda will have caffeine in it, but it's a it's a pretty small amount, and it doesn't impact much. But that's not usually for dinner. That might be for lunch. So yeah, so I do have to pay attention to that. And I have been on medication for sleeping. I was in, like I said, like this wicked. So it was three things that were happening at the same time. It was anxiety, panic attacks, and insomnia, and they all were just collaborating to, and all of this stuff was brought on by sustained stress for a long period of time. And sometimes it's hard to know that you're stressed. And then, but once I got to that place where those three things were coordinated negatively, they were coordinated against me. Knowing what the stress point was didn't help. So I could isolate and say, okay, well, this is what I'm stressed about, and I need to, okay, let me eliminate that thing. I could eliminate that thing. I could know what the stressor was. And theoretically, I could be less stressed associated with that. But once this other thing started going, it was generating its own power. So then something had to be done to break that thing up. And so anyhow, so sometimes you sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get it back regulated. And what they had me on something that was not habit forming, and was something that I could reduce the dose myself. And eventually I got off of it, and then I wasn't on it for years and stuff like that. So, yeah. All right, here's this. Here we go. Here's the next one.
Your way is inactivity. Some people think that if they exercise, they'll become more tired. And that's true, but it's only temporary. Over time, with regular activity, and especially with regular exercise, your baseline energy levels increase. Why does this happen? Well, at least part of the reason is related to your muscles. If you have less muscle mass, that means you have fewer mitochondria and less ATP. Being sedentary results in weakening and shrinking of muscles, causing them to use energy inefficiently. Physical activity, which is not exercise per se, strengthens muscles, helps them become more efficient and conserve ATP, and increases the production of energy-producing brain chemicals. Although general physical activity is good, like standing and walking, routine exercise is even better. The third thing that might be...
All right. So exercise, or at least physical activity, being something that you want to do, laying around, sitting around, that's not going to make you Um, that's not going to promote energy. You're not saving energy by not using it, by not, by basically just sitting your butt on the couch. Eventually, that doesn't actually save energy. You're actually losing it by doing that. What do you think?
Oh well, it is. He's obviously correct, right? And on this front, this is that obvious front, right? Like, everybody knows what it takes in order to maintain the physical organism that you are, right? Everybody understands that. I like to talk about, like, my this kind of little pyramid structure that I have for energy efficiency and whatnot. Whenever you're feeling like, oh, there's something off, I can't be very focused right now. Before you go to caffeine, Adderall, or tricking online or whatever it is that gets you going, you need to check some of the basic things. The basic things at the bottom of the pyramid is basically bodily things:
Yep.
exercise, sleep, and hydration, right? I, I hope he talks about hydration at some point. Hydration. Like, I like to joke that I worship at the Church of Hydration, right? And we also know that a huge percentage of us is kind of like water. But hydration is so goddamn important that it's funny
Mm.
that people don't just harp on it all the time, right? But basically, if you're feeling that way, check. Okay, how hydrated am I? And you should know. You should have your tells. You should be able to tell whether you're hydrated or not. If you're a freaking adult and you don't know whether you're hydrated or not, I mean, yeah, I'm getting worked up already, right? I don't know what the hell to say to you. Get the fuck out of my face, right? You should be able to know whether you're hydrated or not, right? And if you're feeling a certain way, stop and be like, I'm not hydrated. Let me go take an hour to hydrate, because getting hydrated, it's not like something, the body is a physical thing, and physical things have a logic of their own. You don't just go to a bed of clay, for example, and then just dump a whole bunch of water in it and expect it to just absorb it all. No, you put a little bit, it takes a little bit, blah, 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 right? So that's kind of how things work, right? Things live in space time after all, and these things have a logic of their own. So hydration, how much have I slept? Do I need to get my heart rate up, go for a walk or something, do some push-ups and pull up, blah, 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 blah. That's like the basic level that you need to check first. And then after that, then you can get to the other things about, like, well, what's my mental state? And then how efficient am I being with regards to the tools I'm using for this work, the position that I'm in, and all those other kinds of things. And after you check all those, then you can go grab the coffee, right? Because trust me, after all that, then the coffee will be the most useful to you, as opposed to not being hydrated, not sleeping well, not being properly exercised, and then drinking coffee and thinking that that's going to solve your problem. You're just digging the hole deeper.
Yep. Yeah. See, so caffeine works because it's activating stuff that's there, that's operating efficiently already in your body. So if that stuff that is supposed to be working efficiently is not working efficiently because you're dehydrated, because you're not sleeping, because whatever, then the caffeine doesn't really have what it needs. It doesn't have the other factors, you know, to actually work well. So, yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Be sucking your energy level away is too much stress in your life. Chronic stress can raise cortisol levels. Cortisol is a hormone produced by the adrenal glands, and when this is released, bad stuff happens. It reduces the production of ATP, it increases inflammation. Too much cortisol, not good. So using stress reduction techniques lowers cortisol levels. So you can do things like exercise, yoga, mindfulness, Tai Chi, breathing exercise. Even 10 minutes a day of one of these is helpful. The fourth thing that might be
Okay, now we gotta talk about this one. Now I had mentioned I had sustained stress levels, and that's what caused the insomnia. It also made me super sensitive to.
Did you have a guilty conscience about something? There some bodies buried somewhere in Michigan you're not telling us about? That's why you couldn't sleep. I don't know. You can talk to us.
Right. Well, I had spent my entire budget for tricking, and I had cut into the family money. No, no, um, no. Basically, what happened initially was it was all the stress associated with completing my doctorate. So there's a lot of stress there. And there was a lot of other weird stuff that was going on at the same time. Just a lot, and then just family stuff and work stuff and just life stuff and stuff changing. My son was born. There was a bunch of stuff that was happening, and I was burning the candle at both ends, and I was high stress. I thought I was releasing the stress because I was still working out frequently, and that's what he talked about. He said, reduce cortisol levels, go to the gym. I was going to the gym. I was doing all of this stuff, but what happened was the stress level was too great for this for the stuff I was doing at the gym and the regular stuff that I was doing for it to actually have enough of an impact of reducing uh, um, reducing the stress. So you know I also think that I've got some family history that I think uh, that those issues, those genetic tendencies, combined with that sustained stress for that long, it brought some things out and then I went back and started thinking about things happened that even when I was a lot younger, in my 20s. Um, and I've always described a few events as being burnouts, but now I think that I just didn't know what to call them. I didn't understand what the symptoms should be or would be. I was in I didn't know where to put those things. I just think that I was starting to experience certain effects of whatever um, the family history, some of the genetic stuff that I may have potential for developing. It was just in its sort of early stages. So that, along with the stress, and it was a bad combination. And then I completed the degree, and then it's like, okay, this is done. But then my fight or flight was stuck open, and I couldn't shut it off. And I couldn't use the regular things that I would use in the past to shut it off. To shut off, like if I was feeling stressed, or even before I was feeling stressed, like going to the gym. Then what started happening is I would go to the gym, and then I'd start working out, and then my heart rate would start to increase because that's what you want when you go to the gym. And then I thought I was having a panic attack because I couldn't tell the difference between that and just regular rates. And then I became, like I said, sensitive to alcohol, sensitive to caffeine. So what I would ordinarily, if I was, maybe I didn't have a good night of sleep, okay, let's let's do energy drink in the morning or some coffee or something. I don't really drink coffee. Or even like a soda that had caffeine in it. That would cause me to start having a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, it was just like this, it was just a terrible circular thing. And then once I got to the sort of point where I couldn't sleep at all, then like I said, I mean, you heard the rest of the story, but what happens though in his thing, go to the gym, what happens if you try to go to the gym or you try to do some of these other things, meditation and whatnot, and it's not doing anything? It doesn't even touch the stress enough to, like what do you do? You know. So what do you think?
Well, yeah, that I'm sure that's a rhetorical question that you asked there at the end
Right.
because
Yes. Yeah.
you're describing a rather outlier type of situation plus with an acute such and such. But there is something about exercise which I did only recently. I heard someone say something about, and then it was obvious to me that, oh yeah, exercise also is stress, right? And you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, because it's all a question of degree, right? We need the stress in order to not atrophy, right? 100%. We alluded to that in the last point, right? You're not just going to sit your butt down and expect that you're kind of saving energy or that you're becoming healthy. No, living systems need to be stressed in order to not atrophy, in order to get stronger, so on and so forth, right? But yeah, so let's say you need to jump 3 feet. It's good for you. But if you jump from 30 feet, you know, that's not so good for you, right?
Right.
So the same kind of thing applies with exercise. If you kind of overdo it, okay, you're gonna be producing that same kind of stress response, cortisol, and all these other kinds of things. So you might be digging yourself into a hole. I'm not sure that I'm not saying that's what you were doing, but it's just a point
I
worth
I
mentioning
think I was.
in
I
that
think I
regard.
was. I think you're onto something there, because I it's hard for me to do anything pedestrian. Like I uh like if I'm doing something, I go like all in, I go hard, you know. So where other people, they would actually be able to go to the gym, and they do it in a way that, yeah, they're improving their fitness level and like this, but they're not like, you know, going all the way to the edge, and you know, I it's hard. I don't know where the middle is. I don't know. I just know where the edge is. That's how I sort of that's how I orient everything. Okay, well, was I about to pass out or not? And if I'm not, if I wasn't ready to pass out, then I need to work harder. So that's a challenge, and I've tried to reevaluate the way that I do a bunch of stuff, but it's very challenging to um to change some of those aspects of yourself. Like I've always looked at other things from a particular perspective. That's how I know where I'm at. So it's like you it's like asking somebody to, you know I don't know, flip everything upside down in the way that they um relate to everything else. I mean, it's going to take some time and a lot of effort to try to make yourself do that. I mean, I'd be the kind of person that it's better for me to just not eat cake, because I want to eat the whole cake. Like, well, hey, I could still eat more, So it's just better to just not eat cake. And then, of course, that's also extreme, right? Because now I can't have cake. When other regular
Mhm.
people, normal people, can have can have like a reasonable slice of cake, I can't even do that, right? So it's kind of like that. Now, that's a little bit like hyperbolic, by the way, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
Mhm. Yep, 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 yep. And then so with the hydration, which has still not been mentioned, along with the hydration, um, another obsession of mine is this whole kind of meditation stuff, right?
Hey,
Um,
hey,
and I
hey,
find
man,
that
real quick, keep talking. I'll be back in like one thing about hydration is frequent trips to the bathroom. So you keep talking. I'll be right back.
well, there you go, indeed. All right. So one thing about hydration has not been mentioned yet, right? But when it comes to meditation, which is another kind of a obsession of mine, I find that people just kind of give it short shrift, right? They just kind of say, "Oh, yeah, you could do this or you could do that." But the thing is, it is such a powerful tool, okay? And I understand that meditation is not something that everybody perhaps can do, but you should at least find out whether it can you can do it, right? And there's so many ways to access the there's so many ways to access quote unquote meditation. What exactly am I talking about? I'm talking about developing concentration and relaxation, right? So, and you do exercises to develop this. So, if you're not somebody that likes basketball, well, then maybe you can play tennis or maybe you can run, but these things will all help your cardiovascular, right? So, in the same way, if you're somebody that can't sit and do breathing exercises, well, then maybe you could do yoga. Or maybe you're the kind of person that likes to sit and chant and listen to these kinds of tones and stuff like that, right? And burn incense and go to meditation retreats. Whatever your path is to be a person that can then develop the capacity to concentrate, the capacity to sit still and have sensory clarity as to what is going on within your subjective state, and also that capacity for equanimity to be able to float, the different pathways to get there, and I think that everybody should at least try one of these things. Now, exercise is another great way to do the same thing. It'll familiarize yourself with your body, especially when you're doing some cardio. You're gonna know what's going on with your breathing and how you're gonna develop concentration. You're gonna develop equanimity, right? If you're really exercising, you're gonna need equanimity and you're gonna need some concentration, and you're also gonna need this sensory clarity that I'm talking about. You're gonna need to know, okay, here's my left foot, here's my right foot, quote unquote coordination, right? So exercise is also a great way to get to the same goals as as meditation, right? But I think that it's something that people just kind of brush over. And he just kind of mentioned, oh, you could do, you could. He made it seem like it's easy, like, oh yeah, you could do this meditation or do that or blah blah blah, or mindfulness, and it's like, uh, I think that A, it's very very important, and B, people don't give enough they don't give it enough attention, and they don't allow people to understand that, look, it is something that is rather practical in terms of the capacities that you're developing and the means of developing those capacities, right? It's not woo, it's not some crazy whatever. It's developing concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, and there are many ways to develop those things.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right. Let me just say one more thing about um, the stress. Um, you know, okay. So because I have sort of normalized uh, a certain level of stress, um, it can make it very difficult to uh, actually even be aware that you're stressed. So, like, if you're always stressed, that just seems normal, right? So you're always stressed. That seems normal, and um, stress is normal and natural if it is momentary, right? Because everything in life is sort of tension and resolution. But if all you have is tension and no resolution, and then the tension just keeps building, and then the way that you develop your sort of so you're like, so basically what's happening is the floor keeps rising, right? Now somehow you still find ways to have higher stress than what the base level is, but the base level keeps going up, and so you don't know that it's going up. And yeah, it's a it's a challenging problem, and especially in with all of the expectations that men are under constantly. If if the stuff that I'm doing doesn't work out, there are people that depend on me, right? And so it's like, well, if I need to make more money, that means I got to work more. I mean, and more work is more stress. Okay, now I've gotten used to that level of stress. Okay, I guess that's normal. Until you can't function, and then you were like, okay, I can't function now, so I need to figure something out to function. and you can kind of understand why people start, using substances, alcohol, other drugs and things to try to cope with this. But um, yeah, sucks.
That's a let me just put a little cap on what I mentioned before,
Yep.
vis-a-vis what you just talked about regarding stress in general. Initially, you asked me, okay, well, how's Ghana going? What's going on in Ghana and whatnot? I'm like, okay, cool. Agricultural empire, closing on a house, trying to do this, trying to do that, and a lot of this stuff, right? A lot of stuff, insofar as it's entrepreneurial and kind of venture, like, is stress that I put on myself, right? Like, I'm taking this crap on. Like, I don't have to, right? I don't have to try to be living a multi-continental crazy life, right? Um, that's my own doing. One of the things I want to mention in that vein is to re-harp on these tools that one uses to mitigate stress, such as the meditation, such as the whole thing about hydration, and certain other things in terms of systems that I have in place. I sometimes wonder how people who don't have these, because forget the fact that yes, I'm putting extra stress on myself, right? Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that first. But even life in and of itself, even existence, just opening your eyes as a human being is, angst inducing, if you will. And I often wonder, like, how do people get by without having a certain level of awareness and whatnot? And then you like see, like, oh yeah, that's why they're kind of unconscious assholes, drinking this and that and blah 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 all over the place, right? All the things that people do, that you see. And I and unfortunately, it's not like everybody can have equal access to be able to even utilize these tools or understand and whatnot. But anyways, point being, yes,
Wait,
life is
wait a
very
minute.
stressful.
Wait a minute.
Yes, some of us go out.
Wait a
Go
minute.
ahead.
Are you saying that there's a stress tools desert?
Stress tools desert. Oh. Yeah, that's what's going on. Shout out to food deserts out there.
Right,
Shout out to
right.
food desert. That's that's the problem. But no, but it's just kind of like an empirical fact. And also, I'm kind of being a little bit generous vis-a-vis, for example, things such as like meditation, right, and whatnot. It just so seems to be the case that people can't get it, people can't do it. Some people just can't, whatever, and it is what it is, right? And they're just gonna have a little higher level of anxiety than I think they should,
Mm.
but it is what it is. I can't do it for them, right? That kind of a thing. So back to the point about this additional responsibility and additional stress and whatnot. If anybody wonders, like, what are because life, as I mentioned, is already stressful enough, and then you see some crazy people, okay, going out there doing extra crazy stuff that are risky, that could blow up on and all that kind of stuff. Like, how the hell are they doing that? Why are they doing that? There's typically a release valve of they have a system,
Yeah.
a way, something that they're doing. And I mentioned mine, right? And you can go to my channel and find out all about mine in videos I've made, right? With regards to the meditation and the hydration and all those other kinds of things. But with these things, you can really, really pick up that cross and go up that hill that Dr. Thunder was describing.
I'm gonna say this also, and this is back to there was a statement that Ice Princess made that I put on the screen for a second there. It's related to this. Let me see if I can find it. Uh, okay. Oh, there it is, right there. Right, and this is back where you were talking about, you know, basically no TV in the room, the sleep hygiene thing and all that, in the bedroom as being
Mhm.
basically really only for two things, right? Sex and sleep, right? Now I'm going to talk about so this is not really a stress because one of the natural releasers of stress, uh, you know, in a marriage is sex, right? It's one of them. And we know that these days, this is like in epidemic proportions, that ain't necessarily happening, right? So you have something like 50% of marriages, there's like sexual alienation going on, and 95% of that is the woman doesn't want it, the guy does. And that's another thing that could be a stress release. But if that's not happening and there's other challenging dynamics, and then there's like a pile of stuff that you have to do to get to that, then it's going to be like, well, this other stuff that I have to do, I'm already stressed out the wazoo. So now I have to do this other stuff that you're saying that I'll do to get to that, which really should be a default, right? That shouldn't be something that you're working towards. That was the deal. The deal is I'm with you, and you're with me, and and we do what married people do. That's the deal. So anyhow, I just wanted to put that in there because I remembered that that comment. But that is supposed to be a stress release also, and if that's not happening, and or if in order to get to that you're expected to do a bunch of other stuff to get to that, i.e. chore play, well, if you did this more often, then I'd be more in the mood. If you do that more, all of that kind of stuff. If you're already stressed at a 10, now I got to do more work to do this. I'm straight. It's not worth it. So, yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Be sucking your energy away is having a poor diet.
Uh-oh.
If you're not eating healthy, you're less likely to get the right vitamins and minerals necessary to produce enough ATP, and you end up feeling more tired. Also, eating too much processed food can increase inflammation, which impairs the production of ATP and energy. Eating foods with added sugars is also bad because it causes the blood sugar spikes and the crash that you get afterwards, and it causes more chronic fatigue overall. So eating healthy means eating whole foods, including vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean proteins like fish, chicken, nuts, seeds. The fatty acids in protein-rich foods also help boost ATP, and go for smaller meals with healthy snacks in between to provide your body with a steady supply of nutrients and fewer blood sugar spikes.
Okay. That was a good one. Diet.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, diet is a good one in general, but whenever people start talking about diet, I just start like, especially these wannabe doctors out here. Um, Generally speaking, I have a lot of smoke for doctors because it's one of those professions that is it has this kind of aura around it. It's great both for marketing because it has been marketed as this kind of haloed type of situation, right? Here comes the person in a lab coat or a dusty blue scrub like this one coming to sell you stuff. I know I'm completely like, you're like, well, where's all this hostility coming out of it? But generally speaking, I've always kind of thought like, look, these are kind of like glorified back engineering people, right? That are back engineering something they typically don't understand, but then they get a lot of prestige, the prestige of science, right? Because there's that lab coat, which almost seems like, oh, this person's a
Yep.
scientist. But it's like, no, they're an engineer. There's nothing wrong with being an engineer. I'm an engineer myself, but there's a difference, right? They're not God or something. And you have bad engineers, okay, and you have good engineers. But people tend not to really go to that. Look critically at the medical profession the way they would look at any other, like accounting or lawyer or whatever. They just say, "Oh, doctor, he must be a good doctor." Therefore, anyways, medical training is also not the best when it comes to, and this is because of the nature of the science, nutrition, right? When it comes to nutrition. So when he starts going with the whole grains and this and that, I'm just like, shut up, like like whatever, bro. It's just each individual is gonna need to go, if to the degree to which you're serious about your nutrition and those kinds of things. You can't be taking this kind of general crazy advice. But yes, you don't want these spikes in blood sugar. But then again, it depends on your freaking on the particulars, right? What is a spike, and so on and so on and so on. But yeah, I'm gonna go to a place where, yeah, and I'm gonna be like, well, so Ike, what's your solution? Everybody should become a freaking master shaman. Yeah, well, yeah, you move in that direction. Generally speaking, know your body, listen to your body, understand what it freaking means, understand the difference between
Mm.
being hungry and being thirsty, for example. Understand the difference, or understand the lack of inhibition that results from the fact that you're not getting sleep, that makes you think you want that sugary drink, as opposed to drinking some water and taking a nap, right? And all these other
Mm.
kinds of things, because your body, generally speaking, will tell you, right? So that is what I. But when someone starts telling you, oh well, eat quinoa, or don't eat quinoa, or do this, do that, it's not gonna work, man, because it's just so multifactorial and varied and complex. It's a complex
Yep.
situation. Errors get multiplied and get exponentially multiplied and confusing and blah blah blah. Complex systems with all these crazy feedback loops are difficult, right? So, yes, move towards being mastery of yourself. Know your damn self. Again, if you're a goddamn adult and don't know what it means to be hydrated, or you don't have these symptoms, you don't have a good dashboard regarding your internal states vis-a-vis physical things like hydration and sleep and all these other kinds of things, then what the hell? You're a waste of space out here. You should kill yourself. Definitely should not be procreating.
Dang. That'd be a way to not be energy depleted, as if you're
Someone should
dead.
clip that.
Yeah, right, right. um. So okay. Uh. So there are different kinds of medical practitioners, right? You've got you've got these sort of the doctors that are more on the pharmaceutical side. One of the issues that I have with doctors is they're basically trained to prescribe a drug for a symptom. Okay. And there's this sort of unholy alliance between uh, doctors of this sort and pharmaceutical companies. And, um, what am I talking about? The pharmacist, right? So there's like this unholy alliance between them. So one is prescribing you the drug to fix the whatever the it doesn't fix anything, but it covers up whatever the symptom is. And then of course you have a lot of doctors that will not tell people, especially won't tell women, that they're obese. And that's really what the cause of your issues are. Matter of fact, I covered something. What was it? It was in yesterday morning's show. I think it was in yesterday morning show where this woman, she is morbidly obese. She's morbidly obese, and so now she's making a video talking about how she doesn't feel safe. Um, and I guess I could be right back. He got disconnected, but we're still on. But she's morbidly obese. She's complaining, morbidly obese, and complaining that the doctor who just finally told them the truth, hey, maybe you should consider bariatric surgery. Maybe you should get on Ozempic. Maybe you should just lose some weight. Maybe you should like this, because she's got all of these symptoms, which are all basically caused by her being morbidly obese. And then now she's claiming that she doesn't feel safe. And now, this is the first time she didn't feel safe. and this is what is it, fat phobia, or medical fat phobia, you know. So you have all of this kind of goofy, ridiculous stuff going on, and so a lot of times doctors won't even tell you to stop eating the crap that you're eating, you know, that's basically killing you, and they'll just prescribe you something. So you have that kind of doctor. Then you have the more kind of naturopath, at least are more open to, um, more open to like prescribing things that are not pharmaceutical based, and may actually be willing to tell you push back from the table. But there's a real issue with this. There's a real issue with doctors not being willing to tell women in particular that they're overweight and that they need to, there's a real issue with that. Um, and and some of that is actually spread to like with guys. I mean, I've had doctors tell me, "Hey, you could probably lose a little bit of weight." Right? I've had no, it's usually a guy doctor, but they that somebody's told me that at one point, right? And of course, I lost some weight, you know, but that's not necessarily the case. So you have that issue. Um, but I do think that what he was trying to get at, as far as is just being aware that you can't just be putting a bunch of crap in your body and think that your body is going to work efficiently. It's not. It's just not going to happen. And to your point of hydration, that's part of that. Now, he hasn't specifically said hydration yet, and maybe he is going to. But in my mind, a central part of diet is how much water are you drinking. What do you think?
Hmm. Oh, yeah, and by the way, I did drop off
Yeah,
a
I
few
saw.
minutes
I
ago,
saw. I saw
but
when you dropped
for
off. But I think you heard enough of what I was saying to be able to comment.
oh yeah, so there was a whole system associated with, in other words, I'm gonna put it, I started out before I dropped off. I talked about know your body, right? And I'm gonna end back again with putting the responsibility on the individual
Yep.
again, um, because and maybe before I go on to hammer on the individual more, I would say, look, there's a system, right? The doctor has things that are top of the list for them, right? And you, whoever the hell you are, you're a fat ass, right? And but he's here to check a few things, and your insurance is going to pay for such and such, and he doesn't have time to hold your hand over some crap which he knows you're a dumbass is not going to listen to anyways, right? So at the end of the day, it's like people have to take responsibility. Now, will they take responsibility? No.
No.
But can the doctor force them to? The doctor can't force them either, right?
Right.
Is it the food desert's problem? Is it no? None of it's none of these problems. It's basically the conditions that people find themselves in, and then people are going to, in other words, in terms of averages, right? There's a reason why the United States is fat, right? Because of the conditions they find themselves in, right? Now you can then try to solve these problems by saying, hey, look, maybe that food pyramid thing that you guys did when the sugar people teamed up with these other people over here. Maybe we need to take that back a little bit. Maybe we need to take a little bit more of a European approach to food quality, right? One of the things
Yep.
I love about Europe is just the average dusty little cafeteria in Europe has the quality of that salad bar, for example, it's like a freaking five-star restaurant in the United States, right?
Yep.
And anybody who has tasted fresh vegetables knows what they taste like, right? You go to a dusty salad bar in Europe, and you're like, damn. But in
Yep.
America, we're just used to everything being so fake and toxic as hell, right?
Yep.
So these are the things that will, to the degree to which you care about the average person, whom is not going to take responsibility, then you need to start fixing their tomatoes and the whatever and the place, those kinds of things. If you don't care, generally speaking, like I don't give a crap, and I'm gonna keep on saying, look, it's on you, and if you don't do it, and you're going to hell, right? Then, yeah, that's where it ends. I guess that's what I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that food quality thing, that's a real thing. I remember the first time I went to Europe. Was, this is back in 2007. Um, and I was touring with the band, and every single place that we went to, the food, it just everything just tasted real, tasted better. It just, you know, I don't know. It's like a chemical. You get back and you sort of get back used to it again. Unfortunately, but there's like a chemical taste or something. I don't even know exactly how to describe it, but it's
Hmm.
yeah, it ain't good. And a lot of that is just folks are just greedy. And there's a plus to what's called capitalism, and there's a minus to it. And the minus is if they know they can keep making money shoveling a bunch of crap, and you're going to pay more and more for it, they're going to keep doing it. And you have to have enough discipline that you say, hey, I'm not going to put that crap in my body, and then force the market to make an adjustment. But that's not what happens. Folks are, they don't have enough discipline to do that, so all the same stuff just keeps getting served and expanding, and yeah, it's all crap. Anyhow, let's go to the next one.
Okay, so the fifth thing on the list that might be sucking your energy away is poor fluid choices.
Uh
Poor
oh.
fluid choices can make you
There you go. There you go.
tired. Here's why the things that you drink actually matter. Drinking sugary sodas and juices has the same effect as eating sugar. Also, for patients with diabetes, consuming too much sugar causes dehydration. This is why patients with diabetes will often present with increased thirst and increased urination. That's a tip-off as to how we make the diagnosis. This happens as a result of blood sugar overload in the kidneys. The kidneys can't retain all that sugar, and then it ends up being spilled into the urine. So sugar in general is bad, but sugary drinks is even worse because you're delivering a huge sugar load in rapid time to the body. And there are other things that can cause dehydration too, which in turn leads to fatigue. So what else dehydrates you? Well, for starters, just simply not drinking enough water. Healthy people need on average 8 cups of water per day, and more if they're exercising, especially if they're exercising on a hot day. Drinking too much caffeine leads to dehydration. Caffeine suppresses ADH secretion from the posterior pituitary gland in the brain. So when this is suppressed, these low ADH levels force the kidneys to retain less water in the body, and so you end up peeing more. So caffeine by itself makes you pee more, but then we add water to the tea or the coffee that we're drinking, so you're gonna pee a lot. Peeing a lot means you go to the bathroom, so it's gonna interrupt your sleep, which means less adequate sleep. And alcohol will have the same effect as caffeine because it also suppresses ADH levels, which means you're gonna pee more and lose more water from your body. All right, so the sixth thing on our list that might be sucking your energy.
Okay, so there you go. You got some water in there. So what do you
Yeah, we
think?
got some water in there.
Yeah.
And I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind his treatment of it. I don't mind the way he put it. Generally speaking, people need to understand what a diuretic is, right, and what it's not, right? So, again, these annoying adults that are out there, drinking things that have both sugar and caffeine in it. These freaking idiots talking about how they're maybe, I'm allergic to water, or I just don't like how it tastes. Look, they're I maybe I need to talk to a therapist about the things that trigger me about people, right? Because for the most part, I kind of don't give a crap. But there's just certain things that when I see a grown adult saying it, I have violent fantasies, man. Like I wanna rip their heads apart. Like it's crazy. People saying crazy stuff like, oh, I don't like the way water tastes or whatever. It's insanity. But anyways, understanding what a diuretic is. A diuretic basically is something that's gonna cause the water to leave your body. So if you have, you're taking in sugar, and one of the reasons why sugar or certain things will dehydrate you, besides other things, is the fact that you need water to process these things, right? If you're putting salt in your body, right, the body needs to dilute that, roughly speaking. Same thing with the sugar and whatnot. But then you add caffeine into that or alcohol. Now you're peeing, right? So when people are like, oh, you're drinking at the bar and you're going to the restroom and peeing, you're not just peeing the drink. You're peeing the water, that whatever water you had before in your system. So sugar plus alcohol in a drink form, which is a very quick delivery mechanism, as I'm glad that he mentioned, right, regarding a quick dose of sugar. You can take in sugar way quicker in liquid form than eating cakes or something, right? So I think that basically understanding what a diuretic is something that every freaking adult should know. You should know that, look, just because there's water in this drink that you're drinking doesn't mean anything, because it has sugar and it has caffeine. You're gonna lose more water. First of all, you need water to digest the freaking sugar that's in that thing, and then you're gonna lose more water because of the caffeine or the alcohol that's in there. And then you're going to be low on energy, right? Because, you're going to have this,
Yeah.
the fatigue response, It's, anyways, by the way, I have my, let me see if oh yeah, you can't really hear that sound, but whether in Africa or in the United States, I always got my Pellegrino, always got my sparkling water. I have one right here by my side. Always got to be hydrated. Okay. It's kind of interesting that he said, poor fluid choices. It's like, dude, just stop it. Drink water. Okay.
Yeah.
Poor
Yep.
fluid choices. What is that? What are the fluid? Whatever. Drink water.
Yep. Water is what's up. Yeah, I've been much better about drinking water. Now, I mean, you always see me like when I'm live streaming, I always have a water. I'm always have my cup. I'm always drinking. It's got water in it, right? So that's always the case. But I've really upped the amount of water that I'm drinking. Um, and the, the the plus of drinking water is it makes your body more efficient. The minus is, yes, you are going to have to use the bathroom more, and that's just what happens. If you're putting more fluid in yourself, then you're going to have to get rid of that fluid. That's just what happens. But that can't be the reason that you don't do it. Um, you just have to drink water. Okay, next.
Your way is social isolation. Isolating yourself from other people is associated with depression, and depression is linked to fatigue. Connecting with other people can bring a different outlook and give a spark to your energy levels. And sorry, I'm not talking about Instagram and Twitter here. I'm talking real life, face to face. So don't neglect your friends, family, neighbors, or new acquaintances. Unless they're just bad people, in that case, get rid of them. So I know I talked a little bit about sleep in this video, but I'm actually gonna make a whole series of videos on sleep because there's just so much to know, and there's so many different sleep issues with different people.
Yeah, we'll have to look at one of his sleep videos, or maybe a couple of them. That might be interesting.
Mhm.
But, okay, so this is interesting. We're both
You're gonna
introverts,
attack him now about this.
right? Right. We're both introverts, so I'm not exactly sure that the energy thing works necessarily the same. Um, but I think it is true that even introverts are
Mhm.
social creatures. So we're still social.
Yes.
We just don't like people. No. No. We like people in the, but we like people over there. You stay over there. I'll stay over here. Hey, I can wave at you from here, and you're over there, and that's good. No, uh, I mean that's it's kind of true, but I mean I have friends that and he's saying virtually, and he's talking about social media. That doesn't count, but this what we're doing right here, this definitely counts. Uh, this counts. Any of the interaction that I have online when I'm like when I do my two dads react, that definitely counts. You know, when we're doing a panel show like Case Closed, that definitely counts. Um, those are ways that we can interact with folks, interfacing with ideas, kind of bouncing ideas off of other folks, and you can sort of share energy that way also. It doesn't necessarily have to be in person, but eventually you're going to need to do something in person. Eventually it's going to be in person. And for me, one-on-one interactions or interactions where I don't have to compete for anyone's attention, those are those are you know those fill me with energy. I like that. That's great. The ones that I have to compete for, if I'm going to places where I don't know people and there's nothing that I know that everybody has in common that I give a crap about, whatever, that's going to be very difficult. So there is a context for what he is saying, but what he's saying is true. But I think it does work differently depending on if you're introverted or extroverted. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think you pretty much said it all. Now, the social dynamic. He said something there, when he says, isolation is associated with, when somebody says
Yeah,
something is associated with, we all know about causation and correlation, and then you talk about the associated with, which is just kind of like a very loose, hand wavy way of saying things, right? Yeah, sure. Isolation is associated with depression, and depression is kind of associated with low energy levels as well. But I'm just picking a little bit there regarding the way he presented that fact. But yes, that lies within the social dynamic that you mentioned. That yes, it is the case that even for myself, whom is a person that can be locked up, literally locked up in my room for years. I'm not even kidding. And be just fine. That there is something about interacting with the world, right? Um, and it may not just be even just people. It may be leaving that room and going somewhere else and doing
you,
something, and and then maybe a person is involved, another person is involved with that. That does kind of invigorate you a little bit.
yeah.
Now
But you don't need
that
a Wilson
spike
though.
starts.
What you're saying is you don't need a Wilson.
Uh, no, 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 not really. No, I don't need I don't need a Wilson, but in terms of
Wilson, Wilson.
well, in terms of inspiration, invigoration, or just to shake things up a little bit of that. Basically, I'm trying to agree that even for introverts, you can get a little bit of an energy spike when you go out there and interact with the world. Now, when it starts getting extended, then it starts going down and whatnot, right? And the whole thing about ISIL, what's so funny?
No,
Well,
it's just it's like, look,
the
I'll take it, but I'll take the amount that I want, and then that's
exactly.
that's it. That's all I
Yeah,
need.
and also just to reiterate the whole thing about you talk about the one-on-one interaction, and it has to be something of depth and
Yep.
quality to whatever your level of what you consider depth and quality to be, right? I'll interact all day if there's depth and quality to it, and it
Yep.
doesn't drain me at all. But the minute you bring me to some place where people are just, blithering idiots and they just want to talk about, I don't know, sports or some nonsense, and everyone is being shallow, everyone is playing these games of like, oh, um, well, not to be crude, but anyways, maybe not. Maybe I don't need to use a particular example, but whenever I get the sense that people are playing to other people rather overtly, right? Like, people come in and they do a fake smile and they say the right thing they're supposed to say, and they be like, oh, I guess I can't say that. Oh. When people start doing that crap, it kills me, man. It kills me. The equivocation, the dancing around the topic, the let me see what I can and cannot say, and the blah blah blah. That's just horrible. It's horrible. And I don't care. Like I will stand on the introvert hill and declare the supremacy of my position on this. Like you goddamn extroverted feeling pieces of shit out there that are just kind of, circle jerking each other off about, whether I'm okay, you okay, we're okay. Okay, so I guess I can't say that. I can't go. Well, F you guys, man. There's nothing of quality that comes out of that stupid interactions that you guys do, constantly copying each other, no creativity whatsoever. All y'all can burn in hell. And
Whoa,
that's what I got to say.
whoa, 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 whoa! This is a family show, man. This a family show. Anyhow, no, I totally agree, man. That's it's very depleting, and it's just like a waste of it's a waste of oxygen, man. I can't I can't do it, and there's no yeah. You're never gonna convince me that that's like worthwhile or that I should. I'm just and the thing is I've gotten to the point in my life where I just don't give a crap anymore about certain kinds of things. I really am not going to, you're not going to be able to, like, hey, this is going to be really important for your career, or it's going to be really important for, like, no, I don't, none of that. I don't care about any of that. I did as much of that kind of crap that I'm ever going to do. That's done. That's behind me. If it's not worth my time, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I can't, and I can't get that. That stuff is so taxing to me. It is so incredibly taxing. Um, you want to talk? Look, 5 minutes of that takes 24 hours of sleep to get over. Like I'm telling you, it's really bad. I can't do it. Yeah. And if I'm not sleeping good, then I really can't afford to do that. Because when am I going to get 24 hours of sleep? All right, let's see the last few seconds of this, and then we'll be done.
And there's so many people that have sleep issues. So I'll make a series of videos and look for the next one coming up soon. I'll see you in the next one.
All right, yeah. So I think we can look at one of his sleep videos to see what that's about. He seemed to have some ideas about some things with that I wasn't really thinking about. The alcohol thing, it makes sense, but I didn't have a frame for that. You kind of think of people, drunks don't have a problem sleeping. That's 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 the way they're always passing out and stuff. It's like, oh, he's getting lots of rest. So you don't usually think of it that way, but the way that he put it makes it make sense, because it interrupts with how your body is supposed to operate when you're breathing deeply and you're getting into that deeper REM sleep, because now you're like choking and stuff basically, instead of actually sleeping. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and there's that
You know,
thing, there's that thing
he didn't.
also where, like if somebody's drunk, you don't want to lay them on their back or whatever, like they passed out drunk, or if they're
Mm,
you know they're on some drug or something, you don't want them to be on their back. They should be on their side, because they literally can choke to death because they can't,
mm,
because they are
mm.
out of control. Yeah. Anyhow, I said that. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Oh, I guess I kind of give like my roundup here. Kind of closing thoughts. Generally speaking, and I know I gave criticisms to both the guy and whatnot, but it's not really about him at the end of the day. But one thing I do not, I typically have my typical criticism of a list that's too long, a list that's redundant, not enough consolidation and those kinds of things. I actually don't didn't find that in this video, right? He said six things, and I was like, okay, let's six things, and the things were actually orthogonal to each other, meaning kind of independent of each other enough that they were, worth being listed separately, right? The sleep and the exercise and the food and the fluid choices, as he says. These are all fairly good points, and they kind of stand alone. I'm going to just rehash my thing that I harp on, which is know thyself. God damn it! Like, you need to know yourself. Uh, this is not, you're not a baby anymore. Okay, the least you can do is just understand your own goddamn body. It'll save you so much trauma and drama and headache and heartache. Life is hard enough as it is, but if you don't know your body, it's going to lead you to do all kinds of things. You can't just live in this crazy weird dualistic place where it's like, well, the body doesn't matter. I'm a brain surgeon, or I'm a nuclear physicist. It's all about my mind, or some kind of crap like that, right? No, the body matters a lot. The body will lead you to do all kinds of stupid things, and then lead you to get into all kinds of stupid social situations that'll mess up your life, mess up your money, mess up your family, mess up your whole world. And you could have just fixed it by paying attention to your body, by hydrating, by exercising, by paying attention to the fact that, hey, maybe I need all the stuff which we just went over. Let me not rehash that, right? But I think overall, it was a good video, right? And some good things that I got out of it were, again, the fact that, yes, the reason why you snore when you drink is because of the relaxation of those muscles over there, around the throat area, or whatever the hell they are, that caused that to happen. And I think that he touched on good points. Silly scrubs aside, the first thing I kind of, when I saw the blue scrubs, I don't know if you had any reaction to that, Dr. Thunder. I was kind of like a little like, bro, like, you really have to do that. Like, oh, you gotta wear the scrubs. You set up your
Okay,
little room and sit there and put on scrubs. It's like, come on, bro.
okay, I got one bonus thing I want to play. I don't know if you've seen this yet. So let me do this real quick. See, where was I trying to put it? Yeah, I was in here. So where is that at? Where is it at? Okay, I know where it is. One second here. There. 1 second. Okay, there's that. So let's say DT40. What is it? This one. Okay. Here it is. DT40, Dr. Thunder Top 40 is a vibrant. Introducing DT40. Dr. Thunder Top 40 is a vibrant and exhilarating new party band that brings the energy and quality of a touring show to every performance. Based in Columbus, this dynamic ensemble is composed of exceptional vocalists, a powerful horn section, and a seasoned rhythm section, all coming together to create an unforgettable musical experience. DT40's extensive and diverse song library spans across genres and eras, ensuring there's something for everyone. Under the expert leadership of Dr. Sean Thunder Wallace, this band is the ideal choice for weddings, corporate events, and showcases. DT40's professional performances are tailored to fit any occasion, making each event truly special. Don't miss out on the opportunity to elevate your event with DT40. For booking inquiries, please email drthundermusic@gmail.com. Make your celebration spectacular with DT40.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see a lot of white women there taking black jobs.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh
I'm gonna shut
no.
up and mute my mic.
Huh? I mean, you have to mute your mic, man. Yeah. No, that's funny. No, yeah, so so we were talking about me not knowing how to coast or whatever, but this is a new thing I'm doing. Um and great band, good folks, and only the kind of people that I want to deal with. No riffraff, no goofy stuff, only music. And we going after big money, going after high dollar events, corporate gigs, weddings, showcases, stuff like that. So that's what's on the docket. Alrighty, so I guess that's our time for today's show. Thanks again for uh, coming through and checking us out. And check us out next week, Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Could be a little later or something. Figure it out. It'll probably be on Ike's channel the next week. Also, case closed on Sunday, 4 p.m. Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check that out. And come back tomorrow morning for Rolling Thunder, 8:30 a.m. 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, with an open panel on Friday. Tomorrow is Thursday. That is it. See y'all later.
Peace.
Peace.